All right, good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. This is a meeting of the Acushnet Board of Selectmen. Is there a motion to call the meeting to order?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, first item on our agenda is a presentation with Matt McKinley with Invoice Cloud software. They're an electronic payment software platform. And as you know, we've had a lot of frustration over the years with our abilities to pay bills up for our residents to pay bills online. And we went working with our previous treasurer collector, surveyed a number of companies. I had done some as a homeowner of the property in New Bedford, came across Invoice Cloud, and we've been going back and forth, and we're able to come to terms. And so with that, Mr. McKinley is here, is just going to briefly talk about Invoice Cloud, what it is, what it'll do for the residents, but I think in the end, it'll be a great product for our residents, to be much more efficient, and hopefully we'll cut down on the amount of foot traffic we have here and just make things much smoother. So with that, Mr. McKinley.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the introduction. Hi everybody, my name is Matt McKinley. Like Mr. Wojnar said, I'm happy to introduce myself. Happy to be here in Acushnet on such a beautiful day. I will take maybe 10-15 minutes or so and outline.
10 would be good.
10 minutes, I can hit that. I can definitely make that happen. Outline some of the capabilities of Invoice Cloud as an electronic bill payment and presentment platform. The company is based in Braintree, so we're a Mass-based company. But I'll talk a little bit more about us as I get into it here. So these are just a few of the other customers. These aren't all of our customers in the state of Massachusetts, but these are other ones that use the same core system that you use, a system called Tyler Munis. So we have an existing integration with Tyler Munis and work with these other or local governments outside the state of Massachusetts, but to include the city of Boston in a similar capacity. So talk a little bit more about that. But basically at the end of the day, and Mr. Wojnar touched on it, our mission really is to drive more people to pay electronically. And the way we do that is by meeting the payer where they are today. So similar to how people are paying other bills, they can now pay their bill in Acushnet this way. If they like to use auto pay, or they like to use their Amex, or they want to use Google or Apple Pay or Venmo or PayPal, or if they want to call in an automated phone system. However, we can get them to be paying more in a more self-sufficient manner. Means that they're not calling the offices here, coming by the offices here, mailing checks, cuts down on this sort of thing. This starts to drive a tremendous amount of operational efficiency, and that's why we've seen with over, I believe it's now about 2,300 or so customers across the nation, because we're driving those numbers for people. So what we're looking at here is just the omni-channel experience sort of broken out, so that you can see that there are different channels across the bottom there for people to pay in blue. And then whenever new things like Venmo and PayPal get rolled out and people are using them to make payments, we can update our platform, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later, because it's cloud-based, to start accepting those. So now you're able to offer, wait for your residents to pay on Venmo, but there's nothing that this office needs to do to be accepting payments that way, other than be working with Invoice Cloud. The other thing I like to mention on this slide, if you look at the top right there, the intelligent communications. I think this gets overlooked a lot of times. The intelligent and automated communications engine means that email reminders are going out to your residents 3 times per billing cycle automatically. So the staff doesn't have to push these out. They're templatized, so you can make changes to them if you'd like. But what those are going to do is inform people of what their bill is, when it's due, and it gives them a one-click pay option. They can click on it and drop right into the payment route. So they're more likely to execute on that payment once they get it via email. And when I say intelligent, what I mean there is they're going to get these reminders. And again, this could also be a text reminder or a calendar reminder. If they pay it after the first reminder, they're not going to get any other reminders. They're just going to get their receipt. Or if you paid half of it after you got your first reminder, then my next reminder would just be for the remaining balance. These things are automatically updated.
Matt, what's the duration between reminders?
Well, that's actually one of the really, I think, great things about, again, this being a cloud-based platform. We set these things up to align with, your business rules, and of course also like state statutes and things like that. So also your preferences. So there's a preferred time that Jamie and team want it set up,
Right.
so that it's maybe a week out, 2 weeks out, and a month out or something like that.
Yep.
We can do.
Because I think you hit on something which I didn't realize was a capacity, is the ability to almost be on a payment plan, right? So for some folks, not having to come up with that money right away, when we collect the taxes, to be able to spread that payment out a month in advance or something like that, I think is really attractive, especially with the tax bill that comes right after the holidays,
Yeah.
And so I think if we can work with the team to be as creative as possible, I think that'll be a real benefit to our residents.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. And it's actually not represented on this particular slide, but Flex Pay is something we've rolled out, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. And it was because we were working with a senior community. They're actually in Oregon, and they've got a lot of people on fixed income. So they want to pay just a certain amount every week. So you can set up this Flex Pay, will auto draft that certain amount every week. So just
Yeah, that's great.
Great point. Because of this, we see an average increase of 119% in year one in e-payment adoption. So that's people paying electronically. So when we take our averages across all of our customers in the first year, we essentially more than double the number of people that pay online. And again, when somebody pays online, they're not coming in here. They're not calling, they're not mailing a check. You'll still get some of that. I mean, we get 100% adoption or anything like that, but people that are more familiar with the ease of use and convenience of paying, like I was saying earlier, your Geico bill or your Verizon bill or something like that, feels like a similar, to them, to the payer, it feels like a similar way of paying, so they're less likely to, forget it, I'll just write a check like I did the last time. And then those intelligent reminders that we were talking about, they actually drive that preferable consumer behavior. And one of the things I like to highlight is our 280% average increase in paperless enrollment. That drives savings because you're not having to put as much postage right on bills that you're mailing out because people are enrolling. But it's also an indicator of the ability, like I said, to drive that consumer behavior. If we get electronic paperless payers that are signed up for automatic payments, delinquencies go down, the amount of staff time spent, opening and then also licking and mailing out envelopes goes down. And if they're automatic payments, they're generally correct. You've got the right information that's drafting the right bank account or credit card. These were some of the things I worked with your team, your office, just to take some of those averages that we have and then take your actual data and start looking at, not only can we drive a better user experience online, but we can also look at saving really quite a bit of time for the staff here, so that they're not spending as much time with manual data entry, and they're doing a little bit more, able to maybe spend a little more time on people that have more complex issues and needs like that. And then also some of the print and mail savings that you could expect by the end of year one. Again, that's based on our average of a 280% increase in paperless enrollment. This is just giving you a sense of what the actual portal kind of looks like when you take into consideration that this is a software as a service, it's cloud-based. A lot of times I see this where people will make an investment in a payments technology, and it's hosted or something like that. It's not like a cloud-based technology. It can't have regularly scheduled product enhancements. So this was an Invoice Cloud portal in 2013 for the city of Boston versus today. And you can see it's a pretty big difference, but the changes occurred very incrementally and slowly over that 9-year period. So just to say, the town of Acushnet will always have the most up-to-date, or an up-to-date looking user experience. So again, people are more apt to use it. And you're getting less of the manual payments, people coming by. We can roll out those new options like I was mentioning earlier, whether it's PayPal or new mobile wallets or things like that. Some of the things like I was saying earlier, they're not, they're hosted, so you're left with whatever the latest version is, and then the staff either has to maybe make another investment, or they have to download the newest version or something like that. So that kind of thing goes away. And this was something I took from the town I live in that uses Unipay and just kind of.
That's what we had.
Yes.
Yeah. So just to do a little bit of a side-by-side, and anyway, I mean, me personally, I actually have trouble using this one, but I think it's because they collect several different invoice types or something. I just wind up, I live pretty close to the office, so I wind up for Unipay in my own town, I just write a check generally. Makes the account look up maybe a little more difficult than it has to be or it is on Invoice Cloud. I did want to talk a little bit more about those intelligent communication reminders. Don't let me go over on time. If feel free to give me a time check, I suppose.
Keep rolling.
You get up to 3 email reminders per billing cycle. You also get those text reminders, and people can actually enroll in a pay-by-text option if they want. For whatever reason, I'm actually seeing a lot of seniors like to use that. I guess, I don't know, my great-grandfather, I send him pictures of my son on via text, so I guess he's just like apt to using it, I don't know. But anyway, you can enroll in pay-by-text so that you're basically able to just store your payment information in Invoice Cloud and then just text back the word pay once you get your bill. But you can also set up calendar reminders, which I find really helpful. I don't know if anybody else likes to set up, like, I live and die by my electronic calendar, so. And then we also have a way for people to call into an automated phone system and execute a payment there. They can also store payment information there. But that is really nice to cut down on the number of calls that again, the staff is getting. For like routine payment, hey, what is my balance? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll just pass you over to the IVR, and you can check your balance there, or you could store payment information and make your payment there. But then you don't have people up here in the office writing down credit card numbers or anything like that. There's also, I mean, in addition to just the reminders, you get, confirmation receipt. If people sign up for auto pay, they get automated reminders about that, about, hey, we're about to draft this amount of money out of this account ending in these 4 digits. So people will remember to make the transfer so we don't get insufficient funds and things like that. When that does happen though, if there is a chargeback fee, people are notified immediately so they can actually say, oh, I forgot to make the transfer, or I haven't paid that credit card or whatever it is, so they can fix that and make changes so that there actually doesn't have to be the full return. They can make the payment before the end of the day, let's say, and then they don't have to return the payment in the office or anything like that. We also let people know about credit card expirations. I was talking about this earlier, but easy way for people to pay also from an email link. One-click pay, you click on that, and it takes you right to the payment route, so it doesn't take you like to the website or a login or anything like that. You're inside the bill, and you can click one other button, and it'll execute the payment right there. That drives, sorry, my throat is dry. That drives people, people are less likely to not execute the payment when they're in the payment route, looking at their bill, click this button to make the payment. I know, for me personally, if I get an email reminder about a bill, and then I click on it, and it takes me to like their homepage, I might pay this one later, then I might forget about it, that kind of thing. Yeah, and I mean, it's just really just more of the same. We don't want to send people to a login wall with what their reminders might look like. We want something that's heavily logoed with, I think I got it on here, but where it says innovative biller, that would be your actual logo. And people get to feel good that this is actually from the town, ready to make the payment. This is also where, once we get people into that payment route, and these are some screenshots, but what you're seeing is from inside the payment route there. That's where we can get people to do things like enroll in paperless, which again drives savings for the town, but it also can get people to enroll in paperless and or even other services that you like pay by text, if that's something you're interested in getting more people signed up for. The other component to this is the customer service tools that we offer too. So there's what's called a biller portal, and that's just for the staff here. That's not for payers on the street. They don't have access to that. But that gives everybody in the office here the ability to not only make a payment in the office if somebody does come by, but they can also store payment information for the payer inside the biller portal, so that you're in PCI compliance and NACHA scope, and we're storing all that information securely. One of the other things you can do that's kind of nifty is if somebody does call in and they say, hey, what's the balance on my on my bill? And say, hey, I can tell you, I've got it right here. I can also text you a copy of it. I'm talking to you on the mobile device. Why don't I just text you a copy of the bill? Yeah, sure, why not? So then they can tell them what the actual balance is, but then when they text them a link to the bill, they click on it, and they're right in the payment router, and it asks them for their email address, and now all of a sudden they're getting reminders next billing cycle, and they're less likely to call next time because you were able to cut down on that with these customer service tools inside the biller portal.
Well, this is really, again, it looks to be very intuitive, user-friendly. I guess a couple questions.
Yeah.
When are we going to go live? Have we decided on that?
You have to vote on it.
Yep, if we do approve it.
I think you should probably tell them about the cost and the pricing proposal.
Sure.
And that will get us moving a little bit.
Okay, so moving through some of this stuff here with the integration with your back-end system and some of the marketing that we do to help drive more people to be aware of the new system. And then what we do once you're live and make sure you stay successful and you're happy there. So this is the pricing proposal. So we're waiving any kind of upfront fee or anything like that. There's also, a lot of times we'll charge a monthly access fee. We're waiving that, so no charge there, and no charge, of course, for the marketing. We want people paying on the system, but then also for help desk support, we never charge for any of that. Because we drive such a tremendous amount of paperless billing, we share in the savings. So every time you don't have to put a stamp on an envelope and mail out a bill, we share in those savings to the tune of 40 cents per. So the postage alone is going to be over 50, and then you got to think, you've got staff time and paper and ink and all that kind of stuff. So it should still be a net savings to you is, I guess, the bottom line with that one. The credit card fees are 3.25%, and the ACH transaction is 75 cents per. And those are charged to the payer, so that's nothing that the town is responsible for. These chargeback fees are basically directly to the bank, and that's only when a credit card is well, it's actually only when somebody makes a credit card transaction and then disputes it with the town, which happens pretty rarely. And then the ACH reject would be if somebody processed a payment and had insufficient funds, is a good example. We wind up charging the town $15, but then the town, and I can't remember off the top of my head, charges I think $25 or something like that to the payer for that, because there's staff time involved and everything else. But again, that shouldn't be a cost center to you. And then the IVR is also paid by the payer at $1.50 per. So if they call into that automated phone system, don't tie up any staff time here, execute their payment over the phone, that's an additional $1.50 to the payer.
Gentlemen.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
sorry, I can go back to that.
Are you done with the proposal, or do you have more?
I had some, like a pricing analysis
Okay,
that I
sure.
worked with the team
Please
to
do.
run through. This kind of goes back to what we were looking at earlier, some of the time savings, and then also what the print and mail savings are based on the enrollees you could expect to have after year one. And I break this down a little bit further on the just the the paperless savings that you might see in year one. And this is when you take out that 40 cents that you're sharing with us, about $2,300. But I think the time savings is really the big piece. Yeah, that's it. Any other questions or anything?
Gentlemen, Mr. Gasper?
No, I don't, I like it. It's just for the integration part from our side into your system.
Yeah.
If somebody defaults on a payment, how does that get flagged to our office that they're in default from your company?
Yeah, and I've had the slide up here. It hopefully does a little bit of justice to it, but basically we've got, I think it's about 100 Munis customers. I think it's like 96 or something like that. Tyler Munis customers live. So we have that proven integration. So what an integration basically means is that our system, Invoice Cloud, is querying and asking Tyler Munis for various balance update. Is this person signed up for paperless? Whatever is associated with that person's account. So when we run the charge, so like say, let me know if I got your scenario wrong, but if we run the charge, we charge them their credit, their account, and they have insufficient funds, we're gonna know that before we even share that information with Tyler Munis. So we'll actually send out a reminder, an email to the payer as well as to the office to notify them. Hey, there was an insufficient charge here. Most of my customers, though, they prefer to have that in kind of a regularly scheduled email that they get, like at the end of the week or something like that. Just like, hey, Fridays at 9 a.m. we get an email from Invoice Cloud, and it has a CSV file attached with everything that was rejected over the past week.
So if somebody's in default and they signed up for Invoice Cloud and say they're 60 days late on a payment, whatever it may be, we go out, say the person comes into the office, to the collector's office, and makes the payment.
Yeah. That
payment would then be inputted in, and you guys would be notified saying the payment's cleared, but there's gotta be some kind of a penalty there between you not collecting the fee and them coming in and paying the fee. Is there anything that happens there?
So let me make sure I understand it correctly. So like somebody's in default, they come in and pay it in person. So what's gonna happen is with Invoice Cloud, one of the clerks out front will use Invoice Cloud's biller portal, which I was talking about earlier. So yeah, we'll know immediately, hey, this bill is paid, whether it's cash or credit or whatever. But then automatically added to that person's bill will be all the penalties. So they'll come in and they'll say, oh yeah, I'm here to pay my bill. And they'll look it up and say, okay, well, it was $100, but you get this fee on here because you missed it. It's $130 now. Is that what you meant?
Yes,
so
something to that degree,
everything will be
yeah.
squared away. Like, they'll know what their final bill is before they can, with penalties and all that stuff.
Their system talks to our accounting system, Munis, in real time, back and forth.
So it calculates any interest that we would
Right.
collect in on it, and it would automatically be uploaded to the data system so that correct amount is being paid, whether it be through their system, Invoice Cloud, or internally in the office.
Their system is almost like part of Munis.
Yeah, that's what that integration means. So it's always gonna, whatever the current balance is in Munis, we're gonna use that one.
Mr. Hinckley?
Sounds like progress to me.
Right.
Can we interrupt?
Yeah, sure.
Kelly and I
Yeah, we
are the
have-
ones that do all the billing.
Yeah.
And we have not been brought in on this at all. So before you guys vote, I have tons of questions, as does Kelly.
Well, I'm not part of the receivable side, but my question is the statutory obligation that the town has. For example, motor vehicle can't be in installments. That's by state law. If real estate is gonna go into default, Jamie said they're communicating live, the platform of Munis and Invoice Cloud. How does that default get updated? In other words, how often does Invoice Cloud update Munis for its financials? That would be a question for me, well, indirectly towards me.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll update it every night at
Okay.
midnight. So all the payment information will be updated right then. But if somebody made a payment during the day, and then they go on to Invoice Cloud, that payment's reflected right there in Invoice Cloud, so you're not gonna get double payments. But there was something else. In terms of state statutes and the way things have to be set up, I use this example a lot. I have customers in New Jersey, and they have to calculate tax interest daily. it's very important that we get that number right, and it's calculated in their accounting system every single day, so we have to go get that correct information. And that's another situation where, for example, they can't pay, like if I'm overdue on a tax bill, but I want to pay my utility bill and my tax bill, well, my minimum payment now becomes what's due on that tax bill in that scenario. And I just outline that to say, whatever the, whatever the state statutes are in Massachusetts, we make sure to adhere to those so people aren't making the wrong payments, technically illegal payments. And I mean, that's the other thing too. We've got 75 other customers in the state of Mass, and that includes Boston and Cambridge and Hyannis, New Bedford, so it's not new to our implementation teams.
So my concern's different than Kelly. I actually do the billing plus I send it up to.
For water and sewer.
Oh, I'm sorry, water and sewer,
Yeah,
yes,
so
I'm
you
sorry.
know.
I do water and sewer billing, so
Okay.
that's utilities.
Uh-huh.
When I do it, I use Munis.
Uh-huh.
I send it to Bill Trust, they print them and mail them.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know what the treasurer does, nobody's here from treasury. They pull it in themselves with Unipay or whatever they're doing. That's their part, and I know that they do that, all of it for Kelly. But we've always just done our own printing.
Yeah.
So, would we not use Bill Trust? Do you guys print the bills?
Oh, sorry to interrupt you.
So I'm just confused
Yeah.
about how this is all gonna work, and like, also, I do demand billing, so that's separate, so somebody doesn't pay the bill, you send them a notice, water bills due. Reminder, hey, it's due in 5 days, whatever.
Mhm.
Then I have to demand bill, so then you would be updated, so you'd be sending them out another bill, because now they have a demand on top of it.
Yes.
See what I'm
So,
saying?
yeah, they would get any, new bill that they would get
Okay.
notified about that. I was gonna say, you would still use, is it Bill Trust, you said, to print those out?
Mhm.
But whenever we get somebody to enroll in paperless, we, in real time, like Jamie was saying, we add them to a do not print list. So then your list that you send over to Bill Trust to print out, like, hey, these are all the people, these are all the bills that need to be printed out and sent, they're not added to that.
I don't see how that would happen, because mine goes to Bill Trust before it goes to, I think Bill Trust would see it before you, how would that? So is there something in Munis, you're telling me you guys are gonna put in Munis that says, don't print a bill?
Yeah, exactly. They're added to a do not print list
In Munis?
in Munis,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, that's good,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
The Munis is still the big operating platform.
Right.
This is plugged into it, and Unipay goes away.
But I never really worked with Unipay, Jamie, I only worked with Bill Trust. So what I did was I took my bills and I sent them right before I even sent it to the treasurer's department, my bills are ready. I sent them to Bill Trust sends them back, I have to approve, because what, I have to make sure what Bill Trust is looking at is what Munis is saying, so I have to reconcile. And then once I'm happy, I say, okay to Bill Trust. And then I say to the treasurer's office, I'm happy with what's in Munis, what's
And-
going out.
Where is Bill Trust?
Where, what do you mean, where are they?
In Munis.
It's not, it's a separate company.
They upload the file,
They upload the
Jamie.
file, I
It's a-
attach a file to them, it has nothing to, they have nothing to do with Munis, they can't look at Munis.
Yeah, it's an extract file for
That's
real
the
estate and personal
same
property too.
situation I would have with
So
the
you have the same
dog
thing?
licensing.
Yeah, so Pam's doing the same thing over there, so
Yeah.
that's just where my confusion is, I would hate to have to, if Jamie's one of my clients and he says, I only want it emailed, am I 100% sure Bill Trust will be not getting, so we can save some money there? And then my other concern is I assume we update because we sell houses all the time, as
Mhm.
Kelly does, we all do. So we have to update an owner, so I don't want an old owner getting a new bill.
Yeah, we actually use something called an auto conveyance mechanism, so whenever, and I will be, it's not like 100% every single time, but a vast majority of the times when property changes hands,
Mhm.
and the tax record changes, we pick up on that and apply that to the new account. So say, hey, this property has
Okay,
changed
but
hands.
this is like, she has her own separate, because we don't share, because we can't, like, I don't use your tax. 'cause
In other
we-
words, there's a camera system
Yeah.
that has real estate information.
Versus
Her
utilities.
utility billing isn't linked in any way. We're not linked to one another. We don't have integrated software where it's all
Mhm.
communicating with one another. So I believe Kathy feels there's gonna be a disconnect between whatever is created by that receivable reflective of Invoice Cloud. Because Munis there's a missing component, because Munis doesn't speak directly to anything now except to Bill Trust to create that receivable or that bill.
Yeah, so now everybody would go
Am I
to,
They do, but the treasurer pulls it into unit.
Correct, the step is the treasurer pulls it up into the billing company.
Mhm.
So that they can collect the funds for me.
So now, if I were a resident here and I wanted to pay a utility bill or a tax bill, or I wanted to get a pet license, I could do all that from a shopping cart in Invoice Cloud. And the Invoice Cloud kind of becomes the true north for all that, you know what I mean? So when the property does change hands, Invoice Cloud has associated, and I'm just making this, 123 Main Street, oh, it's changed hands, so the tax record's on hold there, in terms of like sending out the bill and all the things that were associated with that account. Say they signed up for paperless on the utility bill for 123 Main, all that stuff is now, hey, there's been a change here, so they're not gonna automatically be enrolled in paperless, just as an example.
What links them? Is it the parcel ID for real estate, for example? Or is it a customer number? Because if it's a customer number, that's another facet, because Munis and customer numbers, their example, Kelly, they're like 10 Kelly Koskis, and it's
Well,
all me.
I've seen it done both ways, and it sort of depends on how you've got it set up. So this would be more of a question for like our implementation team and how you want it set up.
Okay.
But if you need it, because I recall somebody wanted it set up by block and lot number one time.
Okay.
But it
Usually
was-
that's what the common denominator, especially
Yeah.
for utility as well.
So I think where we're at here, right, if the board decides that this is the direction we want to go in town, then Mr. Kelly will pull all the interested parties together, there'll be an integration plan
Yeah.
before anything goes live, so, you know, I think it's.
As long as we're all in the loop, I think all three of us need to be.
So Janie would pull together all the relevant players and make sure that we've got a full, you know, it's fully integrated, and all the, you know, we do I would imagine, you know, some
Yeah.
type of dummy tests, right, to make sure everything is humming before it goes forward. And then for some reason, we're not able to work it out, then, you know. then we don't-
And
we
this
don't go forward.
replaces Unipay, which
Right.
we're using
Right.
now.
Right.
And as far as dog licensing, the clerk would have to go through a list of licensing programs that
Yeah.
talk to
Do you
not
have
only
a list?
Munis,
Yeah,
but
I can give you a list
Okay.
of other
Uh,
entities.
Tyler, and it's, I think I forwarded you a list of 4 or 5 that they already forwarded to
Yeah.
us.
Oh,
Send a
that
few
were
over.
from, okay, I wasn't aware of that.
And
send it
so all of those
That'd be great.
have to go through their implementation team and they convert, and it'll be a conversion period into the town. But it gives access to a lot more devices. It gives access to a direct talking between their system and Munis, which we don't have in Unipay. I mean, once things get paid, it goes to our treasurer collector and accounting systems automatically.
I mean, I get it. I mean, look, when we start changing things, it's, you know, when you go from a flip phone to a smartphone, right? I mean, I think we're basically operating on a flip phone, the way things are now, right? And so we're gonna try to make this much more streamlined, which we get through the bumps and people become familiar with it. A year, you know, 6 months from now, a year from now, I think we'll be looking back on this, if this is the direction we wanna go in. I think our residents will be happier, and I think our staff will be happier. We'll provide a better product.
And the cost to the town will not be any more than the cost that we're paying to Unipay.
Right. Gentlemen, any other questions or concerns?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's for the people, smarter people than I am, like Ms. Silver and Ms. Kosker and the treasurer, but to figure that out, and maybe you can implement Invoice Cloud, i.e., not saying this is the way it'll be, but just for real estate bills, and then you slowly incorporate things in. I don't know how it would work.
It would be tougher to do that than do it, because we're going to have to get rid of Unipay to go to Invoice Cloud. The
Whatever-
difference is we have a modern system here where you don't with Unipay. It's kind of like how we're looking at what banks we use too.
I think the players at hand, Ms. Silver for water and sewer, Ms. Costco with real estate, tax bills, the town clerk with dog licensing, the treasurer collector. I think those are the folks that need to sit in a room with Matt and his team to bring up these questions so they can all be answered by the team before we move forward and say, this is what we're gonna do, to make sure that his team and his company is confident that this can actually happen. He's telling me that he's got the city of Boston, city of New Bedford, Selectmen won't have used it in the city of New Bedford. I'm sure that it can happen. I just wanna make sure that the people that are responsible for bills here are comfortable and understand what's going on, so we're not getting overlaps and we're aggravating more of our consumers than what we're doing them a pleasure by using the invoice cloud, that's all.
Once we contract with them, they send the implementation team in. And we do not move off of Unipay until they're ready to move in. But we have to sign an agreement with them that as long as their implementation team says it's possible, we're going to go with them, because we're going to have to tell Unipay that we're leaving them.
Would it be possible, right now, the town clerk's office does not accept any electronic payments. And that's in part because we are in the process of changing PEP licensing vendors. Would it be better to start with a program that is not intertwined with Unipay and see how that works out? And then incorporate the others? And I can my office would kind of take care of any of the bumps along the way?
Well, the implementation, I think, you can do it piecemeal like that, but if you do it all at once, then I think we take care of all the bumps, if there are any at once, as opposed to like, maybe we run into, I don't know, an issue or two in your office, and then we roll out on the tax side, and then, oh, there was a corner case here, or something, there's thing, and then, so then you're, I don't know, you're just sort of, I feel like, prolonging the whole implementation, but it was just like what Jamie said, the implementation, we would have all of you in the room with us, and the implementation team has done this quite a number of times, and they would take all the business rules and all the ways that you like to have it set up, and they would incorporate that into your instance of Invoice Cloud. So it's just like too, like Jamie said, if we set it up and we're doing test payments and you go, this isn't working right, this isn't what's in the statement of work that you promised. And then, we haven't started charging you or anything like that. So we want to make sure everything is set up and you're happy with it and trained on it before we go live. Everybody.
Matt, do you, I just made a comment that you do work for all these other cities and towns. You do dog licensing for all these cities and towns through Invoice Cloud?
Yeah.
And you do water and sewer, I'm sure, for like City of New Bedford, they do monthly billing. So that's all incorporated in that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we're not like breaking new ground, right? Maybe
Right.
breaking new ground in the town of Acushnet, but like in the grand scheme of things, this is.
I have, in various communities, I've converted to Munis where we've converted the whole system. And then I've converted piecemeal, and it was more difficult to do it piecemeal. And especially over a period of 3 or 4 years where we're using an old system in one office and a new system in another office.
Mm-hmm.
And for accounting and treasurer collector's offices, as if you do this at once, then everybody's trained at once, and you have one system talking to every office.
As I said, get together with the team, the people that will be impacted, and make sure it's something that I'm all for, as long as everybody's comfortable with it and their concerns are addressed, and we can provide the service without a hiccup. I'd be fine with it, but I want everybody to converge together and meet with maybe.
But we have to, Mr. Gasper, we have to approve this first.
Sure.
And then by doing that, that will then get the integration team here, and as Matt said, if we can't figure it out, then Invoice Cloud walks away, and then we're back trying to figure out how we're
Where we go.
gonna clean this thing up. So,
It's fine.
right, so is there a motion to approve Invoice Cloud in the terms that they've provided.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Great, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, I appreciate your time.
All right.
Thanks, Matt.
I'll be giving you a call.
Mr. Kelly will lead that effort.
And I would also ask that if you can, have our folks go up and see in one of the cities or towns the system working.
Yeah. You mean to set up like a demo of like Boston or something?
Or New
Well, if we could do something a little more
Okay.
locally, you know, I don't know if we want to
Yeah,
be
that
busing
sounds
people
like
to
a
Boston.
Oh, I see, you mean like a,
That's a
like
field trip.
Yeah.
They can see how it's live over there and how they do it and how they bill out and stuff in the next month or so. That would be great.
Maybe start with Bedford instead of Boston.
Yeah. I thought you meant like a demo to just see how it works or something like that. I can get your email address off the website and I guess.
Yes, yeah.
I'll
under
send you
the
that
town
list.
clerk. Okay, normally I have my business cards, but I didn't,
It's all right.
I'm sorry.
I can.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda
Thanks.
is street opening rule and permit fees. I know, Mr. Gasper, this has been a passion project of yours. Mr. Kelly has provided a template of what was done in the town of Millbury. This is going to require a lot of work and time and energy. I think this is a good first start, right? And Mr. Gasper, you're our designee on this. But what I'd like to propose for the board to consider is that we do a moratorium on any new requests for street openings initiated by the utility. And that if there's any emergency, it's gotta come before the board.
I'll just.
And, I think until we, kinda like we did with the solar, we did a moratorium, pump the brakes, so we can figure out how we wanna handle this stuff moving forward, but, Mr. Gasper, you brought this up. The roads are a disaster out there, and to allow anybody to go forward, I think is inappropriate, so. Mr.
Yeah,
Gasper.
no, I worked on this from Mr. Kelly. It's great stuff. I also have another big packet here from the city of New Bedford, as everybody can see. I think, going forward, we, for the town of Acushnet, try to simplify the road opening permit structure and be more definitive of exactly what we're looking for, because when you make it too cumbersome like this is, for anybody to come in and pick up this packet and think that anybody's actually gonna read it and be in compliance with it, is next to nil. So I think that we can get this, boil this thing down a little bit and get a better product out there so it's easier for, these utility companies, developers, whatever it is, a water sewer tie-in, to make sure things are done to the spec, and just kind of bring the specs all on a couple of pages so it's real simple. We could have all of that with it as background, but to simplify the specs and what we anticipate needing to be done as far as road cuts from Dan and I and Ms. Silva met with the Eversource folks, I don't know, 6-9 months ago, and we were talking about if you cut 4 feet from the curb, you gotta go 2 feet further from the furthest cut and blah, blah, blah. So I just wanna be able to have it and simplify it a little bit easier so that everybody can just pick up a few pages, read it, and have it done. There's some great stuff inside of there. It's just very complex, and I think when we make things overly burdensome, and then we have to rely on the director to be there all the time to do the inspections and things of the like. So if we can have it where it's just common sense, any one of us can drive by and go, nope, that wasn't done to spec. It brings the issue to the forefront quicker. It helps the residents of the community. So we'll get there, but I agree with the moratorium. I mean, they're just blasting up everywhere, and they're in my neighborhood now, ripping up every road in my neighborhood, which is unbeknownst to me. We got a letter within 2 days. They were already on the ground cutting roads, and the letters came in from Eversource. I'm like, really? They were already in the neighborhood cutting, and I get a letter saying, hey, guess what? We're coming to your neighborhood. Well, you're already there. So it is troubling. Plates in the street, cones in the street for a week now. Nobody's even shown back up. They're at the top of the road. I mean, it's just a disaster. So I'm all for it.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, you'll develop the proper letter to the utility.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Gaspar and I have already talked on a number of issues. Just so that the public knows, it would be a fee schedule that would be developed and a surety schedule, so that the utilities would have to place a bond or a cash surety depending on how big the project is. Because if they don't finish it or they do it wrong, then the town right now is on the hook to repair the road. And then it should be on them to repair it.
Okay. Great, thank you. I'm just gonna go out of schedule. We have Jillian Vieira here. It's too nice of a day for you to be stuck in this place with us. So we're gonna go to the third item on the agenda, which is parking issues at Evergreen Drive, which is the really nice subdivision off of Main Street. I don't know, Jillian, if you want to grab the podium, or if you'd rather not speak, I can just read the. You wanna
Yeah, I mean,
step up?
if you wanna read it, and then if I have anything to
Right.
say, I can always.
I think the bottom line is,
Jump in.
we've seen excess parking, spillover parking from the, the little plaza across the street with, Rochelle's and Scuttlebutts, and the last thing we want to do is, diss small businesses, it's the heartbeat of the community, but by the same token,
I get it.
as people pay a lot of money in taxes in the subdivision, people want to live there and be able to get in and out safely. And so I think the ask, right, in the letter is for us to put some no parking signs.
Yeah, it's right at the corner of Main Street and Evergreen Drive,
Right.
Because people now have repeatedly started parking on that, I mean, to the point where like it'll almost spill over into our street.
Yeah.
It's just hard to get in and out of there. Like when you're trying to come out and take a left hand, even a right hand turn, because you're having to go out and around these cars now, you're almost having to like do a Hail Mary before you pull out there. It's awful.
Right, okay.
And it's pretty much the same. There's one particular person, and I know the plate at this point, he's doing it every day, and I
Yeah.
honest to God think like, I don't know if
Yeah.
there's something going on there or what, but it's almost just like, oh yeah, you don't want me here, I'm gonna be here every day type
Right,
deal.
right.
And
That's unfortunate. We have a safety committee, I think probably the best
The
bet.
safety committee met,
Oh, they did?
Mr. Chairman, discussed this. There was a recommendation that signs be put on Main Street as well as in this area to restrict it because there are parking on Main Street obscures the view of people coming out of this subdivision. And it's a safety hazard, it's a recommendation of the safety committee and the public safety, both the chief and the, Mr. Farland representing the fire department, that there be, the DPW be directed to put signs, and the police department on Main Street as well as the entranceway here.
Mr. Hinckley, I think you were at that safety committee.
I was at the
correct?
safety
Right,
committee.
maybe.
Yeah.
Any other issues at all, or?
I mean, I totally agree with this. I've talked to multiple residents in that neighborhood in regards to this issue, and you can see there's a track of dirt with 2 tire tracks in front of that sign now, and people do park there, and I've pulled out of that street, holding on for dear life, looking out. So I fully agree that it needs to be.
And it's a bus stop as well, right?
yeah, so the whole issue we had years ago was everybody was kind of lining both sides of the street, and we did finally get approval for the no parking, I think from like the wall, from, the beginning of the entrance to the wall, and people now have just parked beyond it. Again, I'm not trying to shut the guy down, I get it's a business, my husband owns his own business, I completely understand that, it's just more a matter of common courtesy at this point, because that corner, those corners are just tough.
It can be dangerous.
It's like we've gotten used to, people lining both sides at the top, but now to like have people on the corners too, it's just too much.
the
And
biggest
I know he has
spot.
parking behind there, so I don't understand.
So let me ask you this, like along Main Street, right, that's our easement for, right, I think 8 feet from the street?
The layout of the roads differs depending on the street, but it's probably pretty close for that area,
I'm
sir.
just wondering if we were to put like some strategic plantings as well, I think something like that for short dollars.
Well, I think first you
Right,
have
the
to
no
put the
parking
signs.
Right, but also just to make sure that sometimes people, you're only as good as if you got people patrolling and tagging and towing and all that stuff, right? So may think long term about something some strategic landscaping over there to help minimize.
We'll have to make sure that the landscaping doesn't obscure the signs.
That's right.
I think the broader, bigger issue comes from Mr. Merritt's letter when we were discussing the outdoor dining, and it's a shame that we can't afford that individual that's renting that property some outdoor dining because of the violation of the special permit in reality, right? He's blocked off, it's a danger for fire and police apparatus if need be get back there. So I think the reality of it is Mr. Merritt needs to send a letter that he needs to come back into compliance with a special permit that was provided to him.
All right, so Jillian, it sounds like we're gonna put some no parking signs
Okay.
per your request. It's already squared away, so maybe if you can pass that along to some of your
I appreciate it,
neighbors.
thank you.
And just let us know if you need anything in the future.
Okay, I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to place on file.
Alright. Have a good day,
All in
guys.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye. All right, go back to item number 1, the full business. I'm gonna turn this over to Mr. Kelly. Looks like we have a number of end of the year transfers and housekeeping we need to do.
Correct.
Gentlemen, I would just ask, have Mr. Kelly go through all of these, and if anything sticks out, ask to hold. And then we'll revisit those, and then if not, then can we just do one motion? Or do we have to do individual motions for each transfer?
You can
Do a motion as presented if we
Okay,
want. We don't
all
have
You
a
can do
problem.
one motion.
Okay, great.
For golf, from the reserve fund, 52,500 going into equipment, repair and maintenance, repair, and equipment, rentals, gasoline, and insurance. From the reserve fund, it balances out to the funds that they're being transferred to.
Okay.
Where are you? I'm sorry. I have 2 packets here. I got one breakdown spreadsheet. You're just in this one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I figured that way we'd be able to save a little bit of time.
Yep.
Yeah, look, if there's a hold,
No
we'll
problem.
jump from that
Thank you.
to the other. From the town reserve fund, 22,480.60. It goes into making up deficiencies in Bristol County retirement, Medicare, unemployment insurance account, and flexible benefits. Transfer from the miscellaneous expense and veterans benefits, miscellaneous expense, $4,976.50. Veterans benefits, $11,000. I talked to the veterans agent, or actually accounting did, and he approved all of the transfers from the veterans account. And that goes into miscellaneous salaries, compensated balances. It's one of the reasons you created the fund for the future for compensated balances. You won't have to, hopefully won't have to do this in the future. And the total is $11,976.50. Transfer from technology salaries, 10,000, and technology salaries network, 5,700, into technology software, internet services, and contract IT support. Our contracts with the various providers went up, and it was not in the budget. And this is just transferring from one part of technology to the other. Transfer from selectmen expenses, $10,000. Town meeting expenses, $3,500. Treasurer communication, $6,000. Planning expenses, software, $4,500. Appeals expenses, communication, $2,000. EMA expenses, energy and phone, $1,800. Animal control, clothing, emergency vet, $2,400. Health, public health, $7,000. Recreation expenses, hardware, $1,029.20. And that is to be transferred into legal services because of the deficit there. $38,229.20. Highway salaries, $20,000. Highway gasoline, $20,000. CMAS recycle removal, $60,000 into CMAS salaries, and highway gasoline, $60,000. Transfer from selectmen salaries, town administrator, $8,000. Selectmen salaries, assistant, $11,700. Treasurer salaries, treasurer, $3,900. Treasurer salaries, assistant treasurer, $7,300. Treasurer salaries, clerical, $7,000. Conservation salaries, $18,900. Soil board salaries, $1,900. Planning salaries, clerical, $8,400. Building expenses, wiring, $2,900. Forestry expenses, tree removal, $2,000. Street lighting, energy, $5,000. CMAS expenses, incinerator, $50,000. COA salaries, $5,000. COA salaries, van drivers, $10,000. Park expenses, contract services, $4,000. $146,000. And it's to go to police salaries, overtime, $146,000. Veterans benefits, $43,000. Fire salaries, overtime, $43,000. Registrar of voter expenses, $4,500. Registrar of voter salaries, $4,500. As the board knows, and I've discussed with you, the major issues are the police overtime, fire overtime, and legal expenses as far as your deficits. And working with accounting and working with all the departments, we were able to cobble together this so that we were able not to impact free cash and not to have to report deficits to DOR and not to have to go to town meeting in the fall. This is a snapshot of what is now. We hope there will be no future expenses, if at all, in deficit between when this was put together and the close of the fiscal year. But we do have enough wiggle room that we hopefully will be able to take care of any, but we do not expect. This was our best effort to try to balance all of these deficits, especially almost $200,000 in overtime and $90,000 in expenses for legal.
Great, thank you. Gentlemen, if there's no questions, is there a motion to approve as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one
Yes.
question for Mr. Kelly. When you ran these, I'm assuming that the town accountant ran these, and this is showing up as balances to the line items, right?
Correct.
The only question that I have is, have we communicated with the individuals that are responsible for where we're taking expenses from and make sure they don't have outstanding bills that haven't been paid yet?
Accounting talked to all of the contributing departments.
Okay. So there's no outstanding bills
Not
that
that-
haven't been paid yet, just because the account line item hasn't been spent yet?
We talked to the departments,
Okay.
and that was what accounting was, one of the concerns of accounting. And we, as far as every person that responded, this is what they told us, beyond their present expense or salary line and what they expected to spend at the end of the year. This is what they could afford. I really am appreciative of the veterans agent and some of the DPW to help us out here, because without that, we'd be in a hole.
Right, very good. Mr. Hinckley?
Sounds good to me. I trust Mr. Kelly to do the due diligence.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say that accounting and all of the financial team and treasurer collectors, assessors, all throughout, but especially accounting, did yeoman's work here in trying to cobble this together.
Thank you.
Because it's been something that we've been warning the board about, but still do not have a solution to the overtime issue.
Well, we did, let me do this first. Is there a motion to approve
As presented.
as presented?
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor?
All right.
Motion passes. Great, thank you. We did direct Mr. Kelly to work with the respective chiefs and report back, I think, by Labor Day on a plan to hopefully curtail future, overtime expenses in those departments. I think that's, one thing to pay attention to is to provide us with like a running monthly tally of where things stand, and if we've got to course correct during the year or towards the end of the year, we want to do that. But the sooner we know about it, the better. So thank you, Mr. Kelly, for working on this. I know it wasn't easy. All right, next item, number 2, outdoor seating. It looks like that was kind of tied to the evergreen issue. I don't see anything here, Jamie. Is there anything in?
No, it's just a continuation
Okay.
of leaving it on. The suggestion was the building inspector issue a letter and ask them to come in to discuss and/or adhere to the special permit.
Got it. Okay. All right, next item is number 4. We've got there's a couple golf course things. Hiring of maintenance summer student, Acushnet resident Max Save. Is there a motion to appoint?
Well,
I'm sorry,
Mr. Chair,
Steve's here. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
it's my belief that he's accepted a position elsewhere.
Oh, somewhere else. Okay, back to the drawing.
Yes,
Steve,
that was.
Steve, you're here. Why don't you? Sorry about that.
Well, we'll jump to that first. This is about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. Gentleman came in looking for employment. We discussed what was available. He was interested in part-time employment. I contacted him a week ago today, prior to the originally scheduled meeting, and at that time, he said he had found full-time employment in his chosen profession that he studied in school. So he would no longer be interested in the position, so.
Okay.
So that answers that particular question. In that regard, because of losing one person back to the Parks Department and having one person not return due to family health issues, we are still 2 individuals behind, but we seem to be keeping up for the most part. And I hope to find possible additions later in the year, closer to August and September, when some of our college students and high school students have to return to school and limits our daytime ability of folks. So we may revisit that issue, can come into July and August.
Mr. Chairman? We got any kind of advertising at the clubhouse to let people know that we're looking
Actually,
for
I've got an application just came in yesterday. We do have, we had some signs out. Our signs took a little bit of a beating in the recent weather we had. So we're going to, I don't have any advertising signs out now. Once we get closer to the time where we're gonna add people, because right now, it seems as though what I'm generating is part-time folks who are interested in working in the summer. What's coming to our door is part-time folks looking for summer work. What we really need is people who are looking, yes, it could be part-time work, but we need you seasonal, which for us is the beginning of April through the end of November.
Right.
Because what happens, people fall off, and then we're stuck with not enough man hours to fill what we need to get done.
Good. If you can get Erin that job list, should we put it on our Facebook page and
Okay.
we can generate some interest that way. Okay. Next item is the mower.
Yes, that's the 14th of this month, which was last Tuesday, I believe, we had about 3,400 diesel triplex was delivered. This triplex was actually ordered on the 10th of June 2021 because of, I don't know how to explain it, but no one seems to be able to supply any equipment, whether it's John Deere, Toro, or Jacobson. But to that end, that price on that initial machine was held at $55,584. We are looking at taking, or the committee is looking at taking encumbered funds of $32,376.90, combining that with the balance of article number 908000, which is $12,787.40, along with the balance of article 908001, which is $12,609.73. If you add those together, you come up with $57,774.03. As mentioned, the machine expense was $55,584. So we're looking to pay that cost of that machine and then have a little bit of money left over, possibly $2,190.03 in whichever article is used second as opposed to first.
Should we just blow out both of those articles to get them right off the books? And then we'll take whatever we need. I guess you're doing something from the reserve. Is that correct, Mr. Kelly?
It was encumbered funds from last year, I believe.
Yeah, so it's encumbered, it's not a reserve.
Yeah. So do we just blow through the two articles? Get rid of them?
No, we should
Leave a balance of $2,000?
leave a balance, and then he can come back if he needs it,
Okay.
because you're going to have to do an exact amount.
That's fine. Thank you. Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
There is a second.
There's a motion on the floor and there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Last one we have is golf reserves. Did we just do that though?
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted me to speak on that or not, so,
We're good. Thanks, Steve.
all right,
Too nice of a day for you to be here.
Mr. Chairman,
back
Yes.
to work.
Mr. Leclerc and Mr. Tibbles worked with me on the conundrum that are the soccer fields.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And we have gotten them through their
Spring season.
spring season championship games. He volunteered, it was,
Thank you.
he needs to be commended, and we are sitting down to try to put together a long-term solution where we don't have to keep bothering the school for permission on a weekly or every 3-week basis.
I had, it's interesting that you mentioned that, an associate of mine who provides one of the services that we have at the golf course called Turf Cloud has been working with Husqvarna, and they have a national program. Now, this might sound a little George Jetson-y, but they use robots. Robots are Husqvarna mowers. They're capable of mowing anywhere from 7 to 9 acres individually. They run 19 hours without a charge. They go back to the charging station, charge themselves up. Long and the short of it, they operate on GPS. You program them on the GPS, and they will continually cut. They go around things that are in the way. In this case, soccer nets and things would have to be moved. But I'm not saying do it tomorrow, but it might be something to consider in the future.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have, in short order, I believe, 3 phases there, which right now you have 3.5, you have about 7 plus or minus acres to cut. And when you add the other approximately 3 acres in the middle, working with a machine that's, I think, circa 2006, you're going to need to replace that. And the replacement cost of that machine right now, hold on to your seats, is $100,000. So that might be something,
All options should be on the table.
yeah, at least to look at. I
Yeah,
mean, we've
for sure.
had demonstrations of the machines done in this area. There's several golf courses in California that use them to cut perimeter up around clubhouses and so forth. We're looking to sign up on a demonstration within a couple months or two to do the parking lot islands at the golf course and around the clubhouse building.
So let me ask you this, Steve, when you're talking, when you're doing the sign up for the demo, would it help us, the vendor to use our soccer field for a season to see if that's
He could, I mean, that's up
Try to
to
work that
you. I
in.
mean, it might be something, actually, if capable, it might be something to look at in the summer, because if I'm not mistaken, school's out the 22nd. So there isn't, and soccer isn't carrying on anything in the summer.
Right.
So it would be a good opportunity to get a test.
Right.
Like I said, they cut continually. And that's why there's no clipping buildup or no issues with a significant amount of, well, you knew what happened to begin.
If they need a
this
guinea
year.
pig, let them know,
Yeah,
Maybe-
well, I'll talk to him because he's more than happy to help out. He had one in the car, but we had too many people in the parking lot to demo it the other day, so.
Sounds like fun, I like it. All
All
right,
right.
sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do you want to tell Mr. Tibble about the board's idea?
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you, Steve, while you're here. I think a couple of years ago, the board, we met out at the golf course,
Mhm.
did a little meeting, a little lunch, and then went out and did a tour.
Yes.
With Mr. Hinckley being a new member of the board, we'd like to try to do that again.
Sure.
We're looking at next Friday, July 1st. I don't know if
Not a
you're-
good day.
Not a good day. Okay, so maybe,
Well, the reason I say that, we have an 8 o'clock shotgun.
yeah, we would do it in the
So-
afternoon, right?
Yeah.
So maybe Jamie, you can get with Mr. Isaac and Mr. Goulart, Mr. Tibbles and Dana, and maybe come up with an appropriate day.
I'd be more than happy to do it, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to take my life in my own hands.
Agreed. We don't want to get in the middle of
150 people out
that.
there.
So maybe just check with them there, and if a Friday works, then that would be great. And then maybe we can,
I mean, this-
golf the
this-
first 3 holes, golf a couple holes as well, and, without getting in the way. I think usually in the afternoon, things are a little slower, so.
And it depends, sometimes, depending on the day, we usually shut down the first tee around 1:30 or so, because we have to get people through in order to have the leagues in the afternoon
Yeah.
be able to tee off at their appropriate time, so. We have to check with Dana on that, he's got that right
Yeah.
off the top of his head, so.
We could do like,
we can
maybe
fit
if we
something
just
in.
did like 6, 7, 8,
6, 7, 8, 9, yeah.
Boom, that'd be
All
fine.
depends on how busy you are, because
Okay.
I don't know the exact numbers, but we're verging on coming close to what last year's revenue was, and it's actually been difficult the past month to find room to work.
Yeah, yeah.
So, knock on wood. that
Yeah, I was
keeps
there
up.
yesterday for an outing, I was just really impressed with the conditions.
Now, the big question is-
Conditions are awesome.
Did you
Right.
make it to the closest to the pin, or did anybody get the $10,000?
I don't know about that, but so I'll just say this, my godson is Boston Globe Scholastic golfer as a freshman at Bishop Stang. His team won
Good for
the
him.
state championship. His name's Matthew Oliveira, and last year he was the New Bedford Country Club men's club champion at 14 years old.
At 14?
So that was my teammate. I'll just say that he did all the work.
He did all
And
that, so he's got a sore back this morning.
Yes, absolutely. So anyway,
But that was just, we had the Acushnet Police had their annual outing yesterday, so.
yeah, it was great. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Steve.
Thank you,
for all your
Steve.
work. All right, next item on the agenda under new business is that we received a letter from our newly placed town moderator, Mr. Dakin. And for those of you who have worked with Mr. Dakin in the past, he is fastidious at the very least, pays attention to detail, and shortly after his first go-around as moderator, he thought there's some room for improvements, right? And so Mr. Dakin has submitted a letter to us about just our election, just things in general. And I think Mr. Dakin, who is apolitical in this realm, raises some good points. I mean, since I left the board, I noticed that we're doing Saturday elections. I know that was part of COVID or whatever. Town meeting is now before the elections in May, and so I just feel like, you know, everything should be looked at and reviewed. My recommendation is that we put together a working group of town clerk, town administrator, the moderator, a member of the finance committee, and also a representative from the school, because we've used the schools for anything related to our elections, and then report back with a recommendation. I'd ask that the members of the board stay out of it, because just so politics don't enter the equation. And then you guys report back and come back with a recommendation on how we can somehow increase voter participation, make town meeting, more robust, and I think it's always good to review. Gentlemen, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, the moderator was going to be at the last scheduled meeting, but he apologizes he can't be here today because he had an appointment that he could not cancel, and he said that he'd be willing to chair such a group and report back to you at a date certain if this group wants to, if the board wants to have a report back date.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know how long it will take to produce a product, but maybe, looking at a fall town meeting, so I think we want something before then, so maybe no later than mid-September. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe later than that, I don't know.
I would say no later than Labor Day.
Okay. So is there a motion to appoint the town administrator, town clerk, moderator, school representative, FinCon representative to a working group to examine our town meeting and elections and report back no later than Labor Day?
So moved. I don't know who we're appointing as far as school representative.
Well, we'll just ask them who they want, if they want to send it to the business manager or the superintendent.
We need someone from the school who knows their schedule.
Right, and the facilities.
No, I understand. We know who the town clerk is. We know who the moderator is, right?
We'll ask them for designate.
So whatever, yeah, sure.
And then ask the FinCom.
And for example, how much custodian help would be in our expenses one day versus another, weekday versus a weekend, that type of thing.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second. Motion on the floor, second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. All right. Next item. Ms. Levante, the town clerk would like to discuss the hour changes to the town clerk's office. I like your choice of pink today.
Oh, thank you. So I'm assuming that this was put on the agenda because I have opted to change the hours in the clerk's office. And this has been something that's been on my mind for a little bit of time. I have 2 part-timers in my office, and I have to stagger them so that one is in the morning, one is in the afternoon. And I find myself spending more time working the counter than I am working on the administrative needs. That's number one. Number 2 is we have seen that recent legislation that a bill has passed the Senate and is expected to pass the House for the Vote Act. And it's going to bring back early voting for all elections, including local elections, which would be in person. And it's also going to bring in vote by mail, as they did back in the 2020 for the presidential election. By doing that, starting in July 15th, they will drop postcards to every resident in town stating or offering applications to be, for ballots to be sent to them for the elections. And That's fantastic. It does get more people to vote that normally would not vote. However, it creates a nightmare in the town clerk's office. And the reason for that is all of those postcards come in, they all have to be sorted by precinct, by name, and then we have to prepare essentially absentee ballot packets to be mailed out to all of these individuals. And unfortunately, a lot of times what we did find was people would respond to the postcards and they would say, yes, send us a ballot. We're going through all of the work in the office to get the ballots out in a timely manner, and they don't return the ballots. But unfortunately, with the enactment of this new law, we will have no choice. We will still have to supply that to every voter. The vote in person, will be 1 week before the September election and 2 weeks before the November election. So that is going to, again, put additional strains on the office. And I think by having my staff consolidated between Monday and Thursday, that's going to help, because then those Friday afternoons that I need them to stay and go through ballots and organize the ballots, they will be able to do that when needed. The other issue also, I know that this has brought up some union issues, which I have spoken with Mr. Kelly about, and I'm a little bit confused on. I have been for 14 years working Tuesday nights until 7 o'clock to offer residents the flexibility of being able to come into the office outside of the 4 p.m. And for my office, it works really well. I have a lot of couples that come in to apply for marriage licenses that can't get in before 4 o'clock. Dog licenses, the same issue. I have worked those Tuesday nights. I have never asked my staff to work. I've always felt that it's important, if people want to deal with the town clerk, that I'm there, I'm accessible, and available for them. So that is not going to change. My staff has never been asked to work a voter registration period. That would also continue. So in my eyes, I do not see any difference with me being able to consolidate their hours. We've had there would be a minimal change for a part-timer, one of the part-timers, where she gets out now at 12 o'clock on Wednesdays. Instead of that, she's now going to get out at 12 o'clock on Fridays, or 11:30 at
So
Fridays.
Pam, what's the consultant, just so I'm clear, it sounds like, you as the elected official, you
Yeah.
gotta set your own hours.
Yeah,
For the staff,
yeah.
what are you suggesting that they work? I guess, what's the proposal?
Well,
What are you trying to do?
and this has never been an issue before. Quite frankly.
Regardless, I'm just
Right.
curious, what's the proposal?
What I'm doing is I'm having Nancy, who's now a 25-hour employee, and I did get additional hours budgeted through town meeting.
Okay.
She is currently 10 to 4, because she's been helping out with other issues.
Monday through Friday?
She is Monday through Friday,
Okay.
yes.
And that's a part-time position, right?
That's correct.
Okay. 10 through 4?
The only difference to her schedule, we did discover that she was working 10 to 4 previously, and she was not taking a lunch. And anything 6 hours or over, they should be taking a lunch. So to incorporate that, I now have her coming in at 9:30. So instead of 10, she comes in at 9:30, but she is required to take a lunch.
So your office will now only be open at 9:30?
No.
That's what I'm trying to get, like,
Oh,
when will it be open?
Oh, my
When will it be
house-
closed? When will people
I'm
be there?
sorry.
And that's all I'm asking.
it's going to be Monday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, 8 to 4. Tuesdays, 8 to 7. And Fridays, 8:30 to 8 o'clock, 8 to 11:30.
What is it now?
Right now, it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, and Tuesdays until 7.
So those your employees, they don't go with you at night on Tuesday?
They never do. No, they never have for the 14
So you're
years.
saying you want it closed to the public on Fridays, but they'll still be there working on the other stuff?
During election periods and when I need them to, yes.
Oh, okay.
But if
So
I
it's like
don't.
focus time or something?
Right, exactly.
But so it's not like they're gonna go home
They will go home.
at 11:30?
At
Their
11:30,
workday
but-
doesn't end at 11:30, right? Because they'll still be working, it just won't be open to the public?
We're not gonna be open to the public, but those individuals will have, their hours will be changed. So for instance, Nancy will be working 9:30 to 4.
Okay.
Vicky will work 8 to 3. And instead of having one particular day that she leaves at 12, she would leave at 11:30 on Friday instead of Wednesday.
Is Vicky part-time or
Yeah.
full-time?
Nope.
So you only have 2 part-time employees over there?
That's correct.
Oh.
So when I have Nancy coming in at 10, from 8 to 10, I am working the phones and the counters, which takes me away from the administrative things that need to be done.
Gentlemen, I seem more confused. I guess we just want to get a sense of,
The only change I'm making is I'm closing the office at 11:30 on Fridays.
yeah.
So, under the town charter, the Board of Selectmen, under 4.1.6, the administrative responsibility of providing general governmental services, including the functions of the town clerk, town library, recreation, veteran services, as may be assigned by this charter or through the bylaw, shall be vested in the director or supervising board of the Division of Public Services, which this board is. We dealt with this, Mr. Chairman, we dealt with this with a temporary one-year thing with our employees and cutting out early on Fridays and staying late on Tuesdays, only to come to find out we weren't doing anything. I understand Ms. Labonte has other things with the state and how elections are gonna be, but that should have been anticipated better, Pam, for the future. Salary since 2017 in the town clerk's office is up over $50,000. And we can't continue to have the town clerk's office open on a Friday afternoon. To me, that's just unacceptable. I look at it as every town office needs to be open during normal business hours, 8 to 4, and that's where I'm at. If you need an extra $3,000 to $5,000 to do it, work with Mr. Kelly, figure it out for the new budget year. Whether we do it through a reserve fund transfer to buy ourselves some time to town meeting to supplement the budget for yourself, to pay a little bit extra to keep those hours open. That's where I'm at. I'm not gonna deal, I've already dealt with union complaints, ASME union complaints, that the town clerk's gonna close on the afternoons and not be open to the public. And I guess 2 weeks ago, we got inundated with people that were trying to get into the town clerk's office that were going to our treasurer collector's office, asking where the town clerk's office is. I'm not gonna get in that argument with the ASME union. It almost seems like we're already heading in that direction. I know Mr. Kelly's had that issue already arise. I'm not getting in that battle over 4.5 hours of the town clerk's office not being open on Friday afternoons. There's no way in hell I'm even getting involved with that discussion with ASME unions, and my personal opinion is all other town clerks, all other departments in other towns are open 8 to 4:30 in most cases, not 8 to 4. And they're surviving, and they're gonna manage through it. We need to do the same thing. That's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I do have to say that most town clerks' offices are either closed on Fridays or in all town departments or half a day. In order for me to best manage my office, I mean, I have 2 part-time employees. They don't want to be full-time. That would be, I mean, ideally, if I had 2 full-time people, that would be great. I don't have that. I don't have that luxury. I have, for the entire, pretty much all summer, I'm working with myself and 1 part-timer. So, again, I've got early voting coming up. There are things that need to be planned for. I was here Friday until 5 p.m. I usually, even when we did close down, I was usually here every Friday afternoon. So, I mean, that's...
I'm not implying it's a function of you, Ms. Labonte. It's a function of that office being closed on Friday afternoons. I'm adamantly against that. And again, if we need to provide a little bit extra money to get somebody in there to cover that office for them 4.5 hours, so be it. But I'm not getting involved with ASME union grievances and everything else, because certain offices are closing, and then we're gonna be brought back into that soup bowl saying, well, they're doing it, now we want Friday afternoons off. Everybody wants a Friday afternoon off.
But there...
Or be close to the public.
One other possibility beyond what Mr. Gaspard said about the reserve fund is if the town clerk needs time to take care of administrative duties, I think then I've talked to the Council on Aging director, and our first target with the senior work-off program should be to provide folks for that office. So there would be some support there. And if we could get a couple, especially if we could get a couple town retirees to come in, we're going to be kicking off the program as of July.
Correct.
That might be a temporary or even a long-term solution, is having the town clerk's office as our first client for the senior work-off program.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive that we've got a lot of work. You have a lot on your plate and a lot of work.
Right.
But then we're scaling back the hours.
We're scaling back the hours so that I can have my staff there together so they can handle the customers. So I can be getting other things done. Town meeting, the elections, the dog licenses, the warnings that we just sent out, over 700 warnings. We're gonna be sending out about 400 citations. As far as being closed and complaints coming in, none of you receive the complaints that I get when other departments are closed, because they all call my office. And anyone that calls my office on a Friday and I'm there, that phone call is answered. It does not go, it may go to voicemail if I'm on another call, but that goes to, and I think one of the most important things is you guys pop in periodically, to see how things are going. But you're not there for the day-to-day. And quite frankly, being able, the week of early voting, the 2 weeks that we've got that and the preparation of the elections, other towns are closing their offices. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to still offer the services. But I can't continue to run an office with everything that we have coming up and expect that elections are gonna be pulled off without a snag. I mean, we all know what just happened at the last election. You know, finding out 3 days before the election that the vendors bailed on me. I have to be prepared for that kind of stuff.
Okay. I
There-
agree.
there's-
If anything, I think the conversation should be not about closing the office, but you need more staff. And that's what Jamie's talking about, and.
And only on a temporary basis for
Right.
elections. Elections aren't every week, every day
Mi-
of the month.
Mr. Chairman, there's another issue that is a real problem. If we change the union employees' hours during collective bargaining, where we don't have a contract, we could be charged with an unfair labor practice charge. And it could impact completely on our negotiations. And beyond the legal expenses in defending against it. I think the best solution is to have the town administrator's office work with the town clerk and see if we can somehow, like Mr. Gaspar recommended, cobble together a solution to get her through this issue where she can get her back office work done and we can get the public served and we don't have to change the hours.
I'm supportive of bringing you in more staff and giving you the resources you need to do so we can keep it consistent throughout town hall. You know,
Yeah.
Through the town hall complex, 8 to 4
And-
hours of operation, and it's not confusing for anybody. And I think it's amazing what you've done on the Tuesdays, that you've been, not many elected officials would make that decision.
Yeah.
And so, and that's great. It's a great service that you provide as an elected official to the residents. And, but I agree, it's a uniformed 8 to 4 policy. I think that serves the residents best, and we'll do whatever we can to get you the resources to bring in more people to help you.
Okay.
I mean, the people understand, Pam, with the elections, I don't know all about this cockamamie and stuff that these elected people are doing from the state house and the federal government with mail-in ballots, and they give me a postcard and let me send in my ballot or whatever. I don't agree with any of that stuff, right? I'm a big fan of voter ID. When you go in, show your license, you get to vote. End of story. None of this, I'm gonna mail you it in from Florida or California and I'm voting in Acushnet, right? I think it's all a bunch of crap. We show IDs for everything, including buying something as simple as a damn beer, for crying out loud, right? If you look at that age, right? You go to the airport, you gotta show your license, but for some reason, people are against this voter ID thing and we can just mail in things and whatever. So, look, if the state's changing the rules as far as elections go, it tells the people that we need a little bit more help in your office. I think Mr. Wona said it, I'm saying it, and I'll do whatever I can. Mr. Kelly said it, I'm sure Mr. Hinckley hasn't commented yet. I'm sure that we're all saying, hey, if that's what it is the election times, right, which is a couple of times a year that we're only dealing with this problem, then let's get somebody in there to be able to do it. I think Mr. Kelly's idea of the senior work-off program is phenomenal. We have a lot of those folks that are your registered voters that come out on election day, and they're there for a long period of time, working the polls and doing their job. Whether we can get some of those folks in on that program that are already familiar with what's going on in the office, so be it. Whatever it may take, whatever it takes, that's what we should be looking at doing. But I just don't want to have the outcry like we had in that one freaking year, and I'll never forget it because I heard it everywhere I went, is what the hell is town hall doing closed on Friday afternoon? I'm done with that. I don't believe that for anything. And as far as your office goes, you absolutely did that, Pam, from the start when you were elected. I credit you for doing that and being there late on Tuesday nights, right? I've been in your office later than 7 o'clock with you on different occasions, okay? I get it. That's your prerogative. You decided to do that. You're committed to doing that. That's fine. But we can't be getting involved with this, oh, the office hours are going to be this, they're going to be this, and playing musical chairs with office hours. I don't think that's a very wise decision of any business to be doing that. So we'll figure it out and get whatever help you need to get in there so you can do your job to make sure elections are handled very well, as you've done in the past.
Bob, exactly.
I think enough's been said about it. I do agree. I'm a big fan of uniformity as well, but I'm also a big fan of sport. So whatever your department needs, I'd be on board with getting together with everybody and figuring out to make it work so your job can be done without you spending a lot of time at your counter instead. You can get some of the administrative
And that's
stuff.
my favorite part of my job. Quite honestly, I mean, I love the people interaction. Being holed up in my office doing paperwork is not my, fun task. But so I mean, it does bother me that I can't be out there. But it's just the office. It's constant. It's constant phone calls and. But anyway, okay, so.
Hopefully with Invoice Cloud, we're gonna save you a whole bunch of time with people coming to the counter to pay for things,
Yeah, that'll be
right?
great.
So,
Yeah.
see how that works out for everyone.
All right, I guess we got some more, Pam. We want to get you back.
Yes.
We need to go, but I guess we got vote by mail, all this other business.
Yeah,
And decommissioning the existing machines.
right,
Okay.
and the new machines. I have already, in the packet, oh, yep, you've already got yours, are the quotes for, from two companies for election equipment. Now, everyone was under the assumption that with the last election, that it was the machines that were not working. The machines were absolutely in tip-top shape. It was the memory packs that they could not get the batteries to. And unfortunately, we ran into a little bit of a problem with the vendor because the vendor knew about that back in September of last year and never communicated it to us. So what this is going to do, the memo that I have here, is in order for us to decommission the old equipment and reinstate the new equipment. But I just wanted to show you the quotes that I do have in the back, just to review those. The first one would be the ES&S. Again, only two have been approved through the state. This one, these machines, great machines, but unfortunately they don't have the diverters, which means when a ballot has a write-in, it doesn't go into a separate compartment. So all of those ballots have to be separated. So if you've got someone that's done the ballot, filled in all of the lines like they were supposed to, didn't write in a candidate's name, then that would go into one bin. But if it had someone's name written in, it would go into another bin. So that adds a lot more time at the end of the night, especially when you have a large election. So the price on this one came back, excuse me, for four of the machines at $21,065. And they're saying that it would cost $800 annually for the maintenance on the systems. So going over to the LHS, which is on the next page, and this is the company that I opted and feel that would be the best for us to go with. Theirs is a little bit higher, but they do offer everything. You don't have to pay extra for this and extra for that. Everything is all one kit and caboodle. So that one is $22,800, but that also allows 2 years of a maintenance warranty that we won't have to pay.
Okay.
And I will be asking for additional memory packs, which are, the memory packs are those that they code with the candidates' names. So it'll have, for selectmen, Kevin Gaspa, David Wona, Bob Hinckley. it'll already be coded into the machine when someone, these machines, you'll fill in a circle. When that's filled in, the machine will tabulate that for whoever the vote was for. That's how they add them up, but we need those special packs to be coded.
Okay.
Okay, these are not, neither one of these machines are internet accessed, so there's no modems in these. So for anyone that is concerned about there being voter fraud because there's internet access, that's not the case with these.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Pam, could you
Yes.
clarify which vendor our present machines are?
Okay, our present machines are with ES&S, which was the first vendor that I had, the first quote I had showed you.
That's the machine that's a piece of crap, though. It doesn't divert write-ins, right?
The new one doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, their old equipment was by far, if I could have stuck with that for many, many years, we would have stuck with that because those are indestructible.
This LHS
Yeah.
Associates,
Yes.
their machines divert write-ins and all that, so it
Yes.
kicks them off into the separate box.
That's correct.
So that when your folks have to go in and look and count the write-ins,
Right,
they can do that very easily. They're already segregated from all the other ones that had nothing on it but the little circles filled in.
right.
Why is it circles instead of connecting the arrow? Because everybody's so used to connecting the arrow.
I
Here you go
know.
again, we're changing the mousetrap again, right?
Yeah,
So
I
it's like,
know.
we're back in school and we're gonna do the ASTs or whatever you used to call them and color in your little circles.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean, no?
no, their machines only do the circles.
But I want to remind the board that ESS was a company that knew almost 6 months prior that their machines weren't working. And it wasn't just this town that they did that to. They did it to Springfield and a number of, as far as a large city,
Sherborne.
and a number of other towns.
They don't have a good machine anyway. I mean, the town clerk, she's saying how busy our office is and when they do voter stuff and if something like a state election and somebody does a write-in, I mean, they're gonna count 3,000 ballots?
Right,
Yeah,
Come
but
on.
I don't think you want to do business
No, we're gonna
with
go with a
someone
new company if that's what
who
Pam's
screwed you
recommendation
for
is.
6 months.
right.
Yeah.
So look, we got one person here who's been through it most recently, so we'll turn it over to Zane.
Oh,
I was actually just gonna bring up exactly what Mr. Kelly did with ESS, and if anybody can tell you how nerve-wracking it is to wait for a result, because the
Oh.
machine doesn't work, and I agree, I was gonna say that. I mean, if LHS is a machine that you feel would be better for your office, save you time, and, I mean, dollars and cents wise, it's very, very close. I mean, I'd feel comfortable with that, and
Exactly.
I'd be all right with that.
so what I.
What do you need from us? Do you need money or a vote, or is this just information?
Nope, I did include in this packet, it's the second page, the article that was passed, giving us the funding of $30,000, and that was from the May 13th, 2019 election. So we
Okay.
have the funding already there. All we need to do is have you make a vote today, and if you go to the very bottom, I have the exact verbiage of what needs to be voted.
Oh, on this memo?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'll make a motion pursuant to 54, Section 34, the Town of Acushnet Board of Selectmen voted on Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, to discontinue the use of our existing Optech IIIP Eagle voting machines and to begin using new ImageCast Precinct 2 tabulators in the next allowable election, which is anticipated to be the state primary of Tuesday, September 6, 2022.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, Pam.
And I have one other thing I need to have you do. If, on the second to the last page, I believe,
Okay.
there is a letter
We have to sign it, right?
Michelle.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
You got the
so if I
original
can have
copy?
you pull those out of yours,
I think Aaron has the original.
I do have the original.
Oh, you have the
Yeah.
original?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll sign it.
Okay, fantastic.
All right.
And then as soon as I get that, we can get the contract, and we can get the new equipment.
Sounds good.
So for everybody at home, when I mentioned precinct 2 bundle, it's part of the actual machine that Miss Labonte, it's not just for precinct 2 in the town of
No,
Acushnet.
no, that's the I don't know why they called it precinct.
That's fine, I just
2,
want
but-
everybody at home
Yes.
thinking that, oh, I'm in precinct 2 and I'm the only one getting a new voting machine. That's not the case, it's for all precincts, it's just the name of the machine is called precinct 2. That's why I kind of stumbled when I was reading, I'm like, what the heck is,
That's,
that
that's
explains
correct.
that.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm very fortunate that we'll be getting the upgraded version versus the first one that came out, so they really tweaked it.
Very nice. That's good.
We're gonna be able to, before we get into a state primary, because it is contested, is there any way when these folks come here and give you the new machines, and are we gonna do like some test of 100 ballots to program these things and go, and see if it's,
Every-
like I can, like I'm saying, I can fill out certain ballots, just to,
Yeah.
you know, get some dummy ballots and do some tests and program the little packs and stick them in there, make sure they're accurate to what we actually signed?
That is done with every single election and every single machine.
So there's a certification process that happens prior to every election,
Every-
according to the ballot that's being printed.
That's correct. The only thing that was different with this last election was we couldn't test the ballots because we were actually physically hand counting them.
Correct.
So, yeah, and you're absolutely right. We had 742 votes, I think, and I left my office at 5 a.m. Sunday morning,
Yeah.
so
I got an email-
it was.
I got an email at like 4:50 a.m.
Yeah, and as soon as I had it done, I sent it right over.
It was a tough day and night for you folks, and thank you to you and all your staff, the registrars and everybody.
staff
Election
is
workers, I mean, they
amazing.
were incredible, very patient, when everybody was in there, so great
Yeah.
job on
Thanks,
that.
Pam.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. I do want to put a call out for election staff. I'm definitely looking for election workers.
Put it out on social media, Bob.
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be great. And all they need is a quick letter of interest letting me
Pam
know.
Labonte, town clerk.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
great. So, next item on the agenda,
Thanks, Pam.
possible fall town meeting
No.
date.
Oh, no. Oh, wait a minute. Uh-oh, what did I
So,
forget?
no, just, so look, this
Town
is,
meeting and the primary?
yeah, so the primary is
Oh,
September
okay.
6th, right?
Yes.
Is that right? Did I just read that properly? Do we need
Yes.
to, anything you need from us in that regard, or is that just informational?
That's just informational.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And
want
that's
you.
for the, like, state house seats and Congress and,
Yeah, and I will have, once there's a final schedule for the early voting and for both elections, November and September, I'll get that information
okay.
out there to you.
And also, I asked to put this on the agenda for fall town meeting,
Yes,
because the last thing I want to, like, I think now's the time to start thinking about it, and this way it'll give us a chance to work backwards. I don't know, gentlemen, Pam, if November 7th or 14th, or did we talk
No,
October?
we talked about it, and because of the final election,
yeah,
the best date to coordinate with the town clerk's office and the schools is October 24.
Okay. Then that's
if
fine.
that
Yeah.
works for you.
And
Yeah,
that's a
When's
That's
the
a
actual,
Monday, right?
it's September
November.
6th, the primaries, and then November
November
4th? 8th?
yeah.
Okay.
So you're gonna try to get that in the.
Yeah, so the
Middle.
fact that you're willing to put together this,
Yeah.
you know, to discuss the town meeting, the elections, thank you.
Good. All right, so just check,
Thank
so we'll
you.
put on our calendars for now, October 24th for the
We
new-
need a vote of the board to set the date.
Okay, is there a motion to approve October 24th?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, and then Jamie, you work up a calendar. I think
Yes.
the scope of the town meeting will be, for the most part, policy issues, like zoning. We may have a few financial things just to rectify, but we're not taking.
And hopefully we might have some collective bargaining
Right,
agreements too.
right. But the whole point would be to try to do as many policy-related things as possible, right? And-
And we've got some zoning that has to go in, especially something,
CPC.
the MBTA.
Right.
And we have to have a CPC budget done, or we can't set the tax rate.
Great, I'm sure we can figure that out.
Right.
All right, thanks, Pam.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
All right, next
Thank
item.
you.
Right of first refusal for property on 1443 Main Street. This is the first that I have seen this. We have first
An
review.
island.
This is
An island.
pretty wild. Huh?
We were looking, Mr. Gasper and I, to see if the town would like to provide us a boat so we can investigate it.
So there's a parcel of land in the middle of the reservoir, Lake Street.
Is this the one that's been advertised for all
Yeah.
this time?
Yep.
How do you get to it?
And there's one piece that you can get to by Carroll Street.
Which
But
is
God
like-
knows, I don't know how, it's off Keene Road, you have to get through.
Yeah.
Through that back where
Yeah.
the cottages used to,
Yeah.
well, there are cottages, they didn't call year-round cottages, but, and there's a small parcel there, but how you jump over the bigger parcel that's owned by somebody else, and I tried looking into that, and
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to be that individual that's owns that big parcel, that's buying that little, like, it almost looks like the top of an ice cream cone.
Yeah, no. it's-
And then you got the big up 15, which is like 19.44 acres in the middle of the two where the reservoir, the brooks come in for the reservoir, which is Lake Street, better known as Lake Street Pond. I don't know how you access that. When the advertisement says that big parcel, the 19.4, is only accessible through boat.
Right.
And then the little piece that's over here, and, you know, it's not a real P&S that we're looking at. I talked to Ms. Koska today, and, you know, you don't need a real P&S. That's why a lot of the documentation signatures are left off that. It just needs to be a bona fide offer on the table to trigger the right of first refusal, which this is. That's all that it is. Somebody's made an offer through a real estate company to purchase it. I have seen those lots up on, you know, Realtor.com for a while, and I was like,
Yeah.
why would, and a lot of it, a majority of the bigger 19.44 is wetlands. There's a little small area in the middle of the wetlands that sits inside of that. It's, you know, it'd be tough to figure out. I mean, it's a small price to pay for 22 acres, 50 grand, but, you know, what are you gonna really do with it? You know, when I look at purchasing land for the town, it's nice to be able to drive there.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Okay. Well, I don't know, gentlemen.
I'll make a motion to forego the right of first refusal.
I'll second that.
All right, there's a motion on the floor, there's a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Great. All right, Buzzards Bay Watershed, we do this every year.
Motion to approve.
Second?
There's a motion and a second on the floor, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, great. First item, next item is just our first reading. Mr. Kelly, if you just want to speak briefly to this, we don't have to go through a chapter and verse, but I think it's our first effort to really put an employee handbook in place. Mr. Kelly, you share with us?
Mr. Chairman, this is an employee handbook. It would cover all non-unionized employees. It has all of the employment principles involved. It has all of their benefits as it stands now. It is defines such things for non-union employees as holidays, which retirement system you use, etc. It is, I made a review of everything that's in place now. It also covers all of the employment policies, such as USERA or HIPAA, and it makes note of them. So it is something that every town should have. Yours hasn't been done in years, and I would ask that the board review it and discuss it with me. If someone has an issue, talk to me offline if I need to explain it, and we will go forward with this. It also covers us legally on a number of issues, and it's the basis that then we can update our policies, such as our harassment policy or our workplace conduct policy. That would be dovetail with the employee handbook.
Can we run parallel track? Do you want us for our comment first, and then, I'm assuming you're gonna talk to our employees about this?
I need your comments first,
Okay.
because I don't want to go to the employees and say, this is what we're looking at.
Right.
And then have you folks change different sections
Okay,
for us.
fair enough. Okay. We'll, when do you want us to report back to you, Mr. Kelly?
It's at your convenience, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. I don't
It's
think,
been 100 years since we've done it, so not a big rush.
Right, so how about this? We've been throwing Labor Day out as, you know, report back no later than Labor Day from our end, so we can.
and if
the summer-
people want to
get done
talk to
sooner, we
me
get
in
done
the
sooner.
interim, as you know, my door is always open.
Right, thank you. All right, thank you,
That
Mr.
it
Kelly.
is.
All right, to number 8, turn that over to you, Mr. Kelly.
This is a typical letter duly, the town council certifies that the folks that are signing documents for the MSBA are the proper folks. In the past, the MSBA documents were signed by Mr. Gaspar when he was the chair, and town council just wants a vote of this board authorizing the chair to sign as the official for the MSBA on the town side.
All right. Pretty clear cut, gentlemen?
There's a motion to make the chairman
To approve the
signature.
document.
It's the chairman of the board of selectmen, so then we don't have to come back each time and.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. There's a motion on the floor and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And I'll tell Jeff Blake so he'll feel secure in issuing the letter.
Okay. Other item, information only, interest of vacancies, got a number of committees out there. I don't have those, but, I don't know, Aaron, maybe you can post on our Facebook page, you know, what we have. available to
Mr.
folks.
Chairman, there are some committees that it looks like no one served on for a long time.
Okay.
Would you like at the meeting on the 29th to have
Yes.
those listed and maybe the board dissolves them?
Yes.
You said on the 29th, why we're meeting in a week?
That's the way the schedule was that you
You
set
wanna move it
before.
over, or we can push it back?
Well, I don't
out
know
to
how
get
much
on
is
the-
gonna be on it, but I am gonna be gone for
Alright,
for
so-
a vacation weekend.
All right, so why don't we do this?
But no big deal, we can do it as long as we're not loaded and inundated with, you know, we gotta get through what we've got in front of us,
We
right?
don't
We don't
have
need
a-
more, 10 more books of employee handbooks. I think we need to be drilling down on
Do
the
you guys
important
wanna
We
things.
go
don't
to
have a lot on the proposed agenda
Yeah, so
right
why don't
now.
we
Well, then let's just do it, let's do it,
July?
we can do it.
Okay.
Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it just got screwed up because I couldn't make it to the last reschedule.
No, no,
So
that was my-
Wednesday?
That was on me. Yep.
Yeah, we'll do
29th.
Wednesday, I'll be back.
No, get us back.
I just don't
on-
wanna be, coming back and
Yeah.
reading all of
Keep it
this.
like-
I think we have 3 items.
You know, but
on
I
the
think we can
agenda
bang
so
out some
far.
things that we need to bang out and get together and have some discussions, fine. It's good to
All right.
go.
Town administrators report.
I'm gonna go through this kind of like I did the
Good.
finance, and if there's somebody that wants to
Get through it
ask a
quick.
question. Budget busters, the RFQs, RFPs, I've talked to you about before, we're working on those now. We're waiting to see if Brayley and Wellington come in with a bid for this year's insurance that will save us money versus Maya. We have until the end of the fiscal year to do that. Warrant articles, you've seen them listed. ARPA issues. We've talked to a consultant in Bristol County. We're on the Bristol County portal. We see what we have to do once we identify a project to be paid for with the county money, how the town has to procedurally with the county proceed. We're talking tomorrow to the various parties in town to make sure that we have all of the engineering that we need, or an request from the engineers to further develop, and we'll go forward. The senior work-off program is on track to go forward in July, which is when we're preliminary funded for. You've heard about the voting machines. I'm giving you a list of who was on the CPC and their dates and the vacancies. CPC must act on any pending request or issue a budget of 0 at the fall town meeting, or we're not gonna be able to set the tax rate.
Got it. Okay.
And other than that, the municipal fiber grant, town was awarded $250,000. We've got our match is previously committed. Presently, town hall, parting ways, and fire headquarters are on the fiber network. This would include the DPW barn, library, senior center, fire station 2, police station, EMA, Pope Park, the golf course, school administration, Ford Middle School, the elementary school, and the Open Cape Interconnect, which is how we connect to the whole thing. You've got to compliment Nick, he did a fabulous job on this.
Yeah, Nick Monticello, our assistant town accountant, he's a big lead in our technology group. Gentleman, as you know, Mr. Warner and I appointed him into that position in the technology thing, and he's followed through, so, you know, commendable on Mr. Nick Monticello's behalf to get a $250,000 grant in less than 1 year of being in that position. It's really commendable, so thank you, Nick, for your hard work and dedication on this project, and, you know, good luck moving forward.
Great, thank you.
Going further, Lake Street Safety Committee met. We seem to have a solution to the roadways into the parking lots. I've got to talk to town council about that. We've been told the MOA is bubbled to the top in New Bedford. We're waiting to see a copy of it. I will follow up with Ms. Conley and see if we can get that done. We received a letter from South Main Street TIP. I will draft a possible reply to their letter asking for a commitment. The town, I don't think, is ready to commit, but we can put a reply that says, please keep the engineering going forward, and we will talk to you then.
Yeah, I think, you know, they've been using in some of their letters, it's like, you know, that we're committed, and that's what this says, town's commitment. And I think that's pretty strong language at this point. We don't even know what we're looking at yet. We've had a couple of conversations about what we expected from the state Mass DOT. If we were gonna make that commitment, I don't have any of that in front of us. I think it's, Selectman Wona, you said it's gonna take a town meeting vote, so perhaps that maybe we ought to put that as an article on the fall town meeting as well to discuss takeover of South Main Street. And seeing if that appetite is even there, so we ain't stringing Mass DOT along with a piece of meat for too long. And see if, you know, if that's what the people want, then we jump in knee deep and say we're ready to go and this is what we're gonna do, and we make that actual commitment. And if not, I think we need to let them know, Mass DOT know, that the people don't have an interest or do have an interest, and I think that's important. I know I get a lot of feedback from people out in the general public about it, so I said, we're not even there. I don't even think there's a design phase there yet, so we gotta see what's gonna happen with that. What are the pros, what are the cons to doing it? So that's where I'm at on it, and that's where I leave it with the residents when I see them out and about. Hard to even inform people of what's really happening when I don't really know exactly what's happening with this project, so.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. Without seeing engineering, what their future progress is, if we're going full infrastructure on that before we would commit to taking that over, without seeing any of that, I don't even want to discuss it anymore.
Yep, fair enough. All right, anything else, Mr. Kelly? I think we're good. All right, gentlemen, we'll set our next meeting for June 29th at 4 p.m., fingers crossed, and we will now be going into executive session under General Law 30A, subsection 21A, section 2, subsection 2, to conduct strategy and preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct contract negotiations with non-union personnel, fire chief. If an open meeting will have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body as the chair so declares, and the board will not return to public session.
Mr. Chair, before you call that vote,
Yes.
just because we didn't do selectmen's announcements.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
So just want to say to all the young individuals out there, the graduation, congratulations on the graduation class of 2022. All the signs are out there. Congratulations to all you folks that are graduating this year. And I just want to say to the general public, have a happy, safe 4th of July weekend. Be careful what you're doing out there when you're driving around. It can get a little hectic because people are in party mode, so just be very careful, and happy 4th of July weekend. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll agree with that, and enjoy yourselves.
All right, great. So we do have a motion on the floor. Roll call vote, Mr. Gasper?
Yes.
Roll call vote, Mr. Hinckley?
Yes.
And I am a yes. We're now going to executive session.